Again.
So this is Monday, February 22nd, and Tuesday, February 23rd. It is both days that we're getting into it. We're going to be talking more about Zeus and the Olympians and stuff like that. Things to talk about with you firsties. One, the thing up there that says the stuffed animal drive. And so this is a thing that is in the announcements where they're trying to donate stuffed animals to kids who are in need. I will give you B points if you participate in that. If you bring in stuffed animals, I will give you B points for it. Now, I'm not saying it's enough to make it worth it to go out and buy the stuffed animals. It's more that if you're already donating them because you're a good person, I'll be more than happy to give you points for it. Now, it's variable, which means if you bring in a little tiny stuffed animal, I'm only going to give you 1 point. If you bring in like a normal sized stuffed animal, then I'll give you 5 points, up to a maximum of 15. So you can't bring in like a semi-truck full of stuffed animals and be like, I'm swimming in B-point. I'm still going to max you out at 15 points. So you could bring in like 15 small ones or 3 bigger ones or 5 medium ones or not bring in any. The thing is, if you bring them in, you have to bring them to me so that I can see them. You can't just all of a sudden be like, I brought in 30 stuffed animals. You're like, right, where are they? Donate it, yeah. So if you don't bring them to me and I see them, then you're going to be out of luck on that one. I would do all of that except for the throwing it at me part. Yes, that's not a problem, Harris. And so bring them in. I'll take a look at them. I'll give you the points for it. Then you're good to go. Completely optional. I will send out. Keep going. Now I have to charge you points. Every time you show up on camera, I charge you points, which is why you know that, which is why you sneak onto the camera.
I showed up on camera?
Yep. And there you go. That's why you have the point loss. And so again, that's up to you. So some of you who spend a lot of your points may want to bring in some stuffed animals. I will also email your parents, let them know that's why. Oh, not random ones you find under your bed, but like new stuffed animals because they're trying to not take weird, grimy stuffed animals that have your cooties all over them. So letting you know from there. The other thing to cover is on there, it says We the People applications. Those of you who have had social studies, this is the same thing that Mrs. Randall is going to be talking about with you. But this application is now going live. It is an 8th grade class. It is both advanced social studies and advanced English. It is 2 classes that combine together. For some of you, absolutely this would be a good idea to do. For others of you, probably not. Here's how you can figure out if it's a thing you want to do. You're going to have to be able to talk out loud in front of other kids with kids staring at you. You're going to have to be able to read a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to have to be able to talk, and you're going to have to do a whole lot of thinking on your own. And then arguing with other kids. If that sounds interesting to you, not one of the 5, but all of the 5, if you're just like, I just like yelling at kids, then that's one of the 5. You have to hit all 5, and then you're good to go. If you're interested in it, the application information is on Canvas in the announcements section. If you personally are interested and you want to know more information, send me a message and I'll be more than happy to talk you through it. You'd be like, is this a thing that you think? And I'd be like, well, do you like talking to kids? Nope, I hate them. Do you like doing work? Nope, I'm lazy. I'm like, well, then it's probably not for you. But for those of you who don't mind doing work and like thinking, then it's absolutely a thing you can do. The thing is, they're only taking 24 kids total for the entire 7th grade. So even if you want to do it, they're only taking 24 kids. So you have to compete with other kids to even get into the class. But about 8 of those 24 are going to come from the Heroes team. So because of that, there is every chance it could be you. And yep, I believe there are probably kids in this class who would do okay at it, depending on how well you want to push yourself. So anyway, that's up to you. I will talk about it again on Wednesday, just because I want to make sure I see these other kids in person and be able to talk to them too. Do you guys have any questions before I move on? Blaze.
Are you going to be recording?
I'm already recording. That's why I charge you points. Right. And now it's on camera, me charging you points. What a fun game. So we're good to go on there. Then Yeezys. All right. So then we did camera-y thing. You guys are good to go from there. I have the only kids who have not turned in last week's quiz are the same kids who are skipping class. So that works out easily enough. So then let's run through Quizzy thing real quick, and then we'll get to our new information for you. So as we go, home children, I can show you Camry thing. that first question, the poster it was talking about is the post that's right over there, which was also on website place. So that's what it says on that poster. Who is it that Athena is talking to? If that's Athena, who is she talking to? There you go. So the answer being Poseidon is who she was speaking to. And then on there, let's see, the two ingredients that Prometheus uses.
Dirt and water.
Correct. Not mud and water. Mud and water just makes sloppier mud. But dirt and water is what you use to make mud. And so I did take mud and water as an answer. I just had to make fun of you. But dirt and water was the thing I was going for. But I figured a lot of you guys would still put mud, so I gave you points for it anyway. Who was the leader of the army for Cronus?
Atlas.
Nicely done. Look at you, the command authority. I was afraid you guys would put down Cronus, which is why I even gave you the hint. It's not Cronus. I still had kids who put down Cronus.
They probably still put it down.
There's some special children. What did the monsters have to agree to?
Hide on the edge of the world.
At the end of the battle, go hide on the edge of the world because they're so horrifyingly ugly. How do I know if I'm going to put an answer state? Ooh, solid question. For the most part, whatever you're in now is what you'll go on to next year unless you contact your teacher. So if you're in regular now, you'll go on to regular next year. If you're in advanced now, you go on to advanced next year. If you're in advanced and want to go down to regular, you talk to your teacher. If you're in regular and want to go up to advanced, you talk to your teacher. Otherwise, it just continues over. And we have kids who move all the time, who go from regular down to advanced or go advanced to regular. That's fine. You just got to let me know what you're pushing for. Bah. And weapons. What weapon does Zeus have?
Bucket of lightning.
Go you. And Poseidon?
Trident.
Pokey pokey stick. Hades?
Helm of darkness.
And Prometheus
Nothing.
is correct. I threw that one on there just to see which
Nothing.
kids were paying attention. The same thing all of you guys got. And then which god switches sides?
Prometheus. Oh, Epimetheus.
There. By the way, with the spelling of Epimetheus, this part of his name, Metheus, is spelled the exact same way up there. The only thing that changes was the first three letters, the E-P-I. But the number of creative spellings that you guys put down for that second half of it was frightening. Oh, if you put down Epimetheus and got that one wrong, email me. Because I had some of you guys who were really creative with your spelling. And because of that, you might have gotten it wrong. But if you think you had the right one, go back and check. And then let me know, and I'll go ahead and give you points. I have no problem with that. Excuse me. Where did we put all the Titans that fought against Zeus? Dipped in tartar sauce. Your fish sticks. Nicely done. And let's see, which of these was not a factor in Atlas's punishment?
He had 9 daughters.
And he does have 9 daughters, and they were called the Hesperides, but that had no impact. Oh, real quick. On this, by the way, I decided to have my 16-year-old daughter take my quiz to sort of see if I made any mistakes on it, and she also knows a lot about Greek mythology. There are several answers she did not know, so she Googled the answers on my quiz to try and figure out what they are. Just so you're aware, I don't care if you Google answers on my quizzes. That's absolutely fine with me. If you Google any of the answers on my quizzes, for 2 reasons. One, if you Google the answer, you still have to figure out the information. Because even Googling it doesn't come right out and tell you the answer. You're going to have to read little bits of articles to figure out which one goes in there. And 2, if an adult doesn't know an answer to something, what does an adult do? You Google the answer. So I figure if you guys Google, it's a life skill. So I honestly don't mind if you go and Google answers. Plus, a lot of the times, the Google doesn't always have the exact right answer for it. Because it's kind of hard to Google in that particular phrase. And if you did Google it and you had to read about Atlas, oh no, you had to go read more information and learn. How awful. So I'm fine with it. Now, it's usually easier just to pay attention to me when I talk. But for many of you, you zone out and go to your happy place. If it's easier for you to then just go back and Google, that's fine. Go back and Google. You're still finding out the information. It's just more work for you. Math teachers and I differ on that. So that's why again, I'm a little bit different than most of the teachers you'll ever know. Who is the god of sworn oaths and promises? By the way, here's where Google. Apparently, a lot of kids Googled this and they found some god named Awarenos. I don't know who that god is, but apparently there's another god out there who is the god of promises named universe? I don't know. But that was a problem. Sometimes you Google the answer and it comes up with a random other thing. So sometimes Googling doesn't always fix it. I have no idea who awareness is, except the answer that was not on my quiz. We should find out who awareness is. And who is not swallowed?
Zeus.
Is correct.
Zeus.
Back to the whole Zeus not being swallowed thing. So on these, 8 of these questions we did really well on and got like 80% or higher. 2 of the questions we did not do well on. So here's my question. Can you guess which question was the one we did the worst on? There was one question that we got 60% on as an overall group. Where on this one, almost every other kid got this question wrong. So by holding up finger numbers, same thing with home children if you have finger numbers, which one do you think was the one that almost every other kid got wrong? So I'm seeing 10s instead of 9, 9s, and 9s, and a 6, and a 2, and a 2, and a 6, and a, all right. Correct answer is, God it promises. The one that people had to Google the wrong answer for was the one that came back to haunt people. There was another one that was below 80%, the second lowest one. So if it's not that one, and 3, 5, kids at home, your screen is frozen, so I can't. And correct answer would be the who switched sides one. That was also in the, and I think it's because people just spelled it really weird. And every time you spelled it weird, I'd go in there and give you credit for it, but I still have kids who messed up. Everything else, you guys did really well on. Like overall, it was pretty decent answering on that. So go, you guys. All right. So now let's see. From there, we get to do the speedy version. We have that one, blue sheet. All right. Listen, we have more words. Zeus going down and freeing the Cyclops and the big ugly monsters. Big war breaks out. They go fighting. Oh, by the way, again on blue sheet, we are all the way down to 37. We are all the way down to 37, just that you guys are aware as we're going through and doing it. And we got the 3 weapons. Zeus had what weapon?
Lightning bolt.
There you go. And I had my adorable picture. And we have Poseidon has the weapon of?
That's right.
Go you again. That's my adorable picture.
Water.
And then you have Hades had,
Invisibility.
and my adorable picture again. Then let's see, at the end of the war, the big ugly monster. Oh wait, what happened to all the humans during the war?
I died.
Is they were squishy and no one cared, just like real life. And then the big ugly monsters go to the edge of the world. Oh, I'm sorry. We threw all the tartans into the pit of there, the pit of tartar sauce. Then we got rid of the big ugly monsters. Then where is it the Cyclops go? And they're going to show up today's story. The Cyclops come back for one of our stories.
Yee.
And then from there they're gone. And then they're gone. And Sky almost falls after the war because the mountain breaks apart. So who has to go lift the Sky?
Atlas.
And this is where Atlas comes in, lifting the Sky onto his back. And then, let's see, him lifting Sky. And then we separate the world into 3 kingdoms. What kingdom does Zeus take?
The earth. All the land.
Works for me, land and sky. Poseidon takes
Water.
squishy bits. And Hades,
Underworld.
nicely done again. So those become the 3 kingdoms there. All right. Max, you have a question, Max? I apologize. I saw you with your hand up.
I was just gonna say your Zoom was being kind of laggy. The audio was like cutting out for a second, like a couple times.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're having an issue because all the kids, your Zoom screens are also frozen at the moment. So it's the same issue. I'm guessing the joy of technology. You're all like stuck into weird little poses right now. So, yay. I apologize. Yeah, in real life, my voice is not lagging at all. So it must be an issue at home. I think that just messed with the kid. On blue sheet, we should now be done with that through 37. I'm assuming we have no questions. I can move on from that one. Yay, Z's. Way to rub it on your face. And now we have this one. And so we'll see. So you should have the separate one that we were going through and doing on the off chance you were one of the kids who ate your paper. This is where I'm giving you a second to rewrite things, he says, cough, cough, to give you a moment to write things down. Did we get through any of these yet?
One.
One.
And the
the
The second one? All right, so that gives us a chance. So this screen is going to disappear here in just a second. Let me see if I can get the Zoom faces to work. Excuse me. Nope. We're just having technology issues, and you're all a bunch of black boxes now. I chose poorly. All right, we'll just come back to here. And to this one. I'm hoping Holy Children. Oh, no, that brought it back. Brought some of you back. Anyway, nope, now you're frozen again. Technology. All right. So you should have 3 up and downy columns that says the God, and then what you say, and then the action, and 12 acrossy columns, because we're going to be going through and memorizing the 12 gods. And then you're going to have to, now, after we get done, each one of you is going to be giving a speech. It's not really a speech. You're just going to tell us from memory, you're going to go through and tell us all the gods and what they're the god of.
Today?
Well, it's going to take us a couple of days to get through it. So you don't have to, wow, you got really excited there for a second. It's okay.
I don't want to.
Now, the good news is, once you do it, you get B points or candy, depending on which one you choose to do. And so you get your choice of the 5 B point, depending on how, up to 5 B points. If you mess it up, you don't get 5 B points. You only get 4 or 3 or 2 or 1, or for some of you, none, because you're going to struggle. Or we'll see what happens from there. All right. So that we got that one, and then that'd be the one there. So at this point, Zeus is the king of all the gods, and he decides to start filling in the thrones on Mount Olympus. He says, we got rid of all the old gods. Now we're going to bring in the new rulers of all of these, and we're going to start picking our thrones to figure out who gets what cool throne. And who is the first god who's going to get a throne? Zeus himself. He's like, hey, I'm the one that freed everybody. Oh, and to answer was that question number 37. Who were the first 6 Olympians born? Who are going to be the first 6 to get thrones?
Siblings.
Him and his siblings, the only people that he trusts. So he goes, the first people who are going to get thrones are the people I trust the most, me and my siblings. So Zeus is our first one getting a throne. For what we say for Zeus, how does he connect, or what is his job?
Point.
Close. It's not his job. It's the right answer for the wrong question. But you sounded confident. That's the big step. Yes?
I don't have the answer.
Oh,
Like on the first one, is the God actually?
I know I did it in a different order.
So
It makes you guys think and have to realize it goes in a different spot. So it's the same thing, it's in a different order, but it's the same ideas. Kate. Thank you, Kate. Zeus is the king of all gods. Yes, Henry, you may. So you're going to go Zeus. Now, I'll say Zeus, king of all gods. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to say king of all gods. If you want to say something else that works, that's fine with me. You can call him the Mac Daddy. You can call him the Daddy Mac. You can call him the Big Dog. You can call him the God of all the gods. You can call him the Mighty One. Whatever. As long as you call him the Idiot. It seems a little specific. It seems like you're just lashing out in anger. And unfortunately, that would apply to almost all the gods. So if you want to call him the Idiot King, yes, that one I would accept. But just going, that idiot god, I'm like, Hades, Zeus, Poseidon, Epimetheus. So that'd be too many of them. So it'd be the same thing. So you're going to go through, and as long as you have a correct thing that works for him, it does not have to be exactly mine. I'm happy to have you guys use your own interpretation. Hand sign that goes along with him. Almost every time we see him, he's doing the same thing. Now this is where your answer comes in, and that would be is correct. So this is where you're going to do the Zeus, king of all gods, and you're going to do the smiting, the pointing. Pick whoever you feel needs smiting, hold on to your lightning bolt, and go Zeus, king of all gods, or Zeus, the Mac Daddy, or Zeus, the idiot child king, or whatever works for you that you want to yell that brings you happiness, and that's fine with me. Then did we get to the second one? So who is our second one that's going to get a throne? Now, originally it was supposed to be Poseidon, but Hera throws a hissy fit. Women. She was like, no, it cannot be your brother. It's going to be me because I'm Mrs. You. He was like, but you're my sister. And she's like, oh, no, creepy. And so she is going to get our second throne. Our second throne. There we go. So Hera gets the second throne. Now, for Hera, What is it we know she's in control of?
Marriage.
And
Baby birth.
there you go. Now, here's the problem.
Oh.
Even though she is the god of marriage and childbirth, that's not how we're going to refer to her in almost all
She
the
kills
stories.
baby.
She does. Well, you sound a little too excited, Max. But yes, that whole baby killing comes in. But the thing, I would make you remember the whole marriage and childbirth, but really in almost every story we do, it never deals with marriage or childbirth. Don't forget, Greek mythology is incredibly sexist, which is going to have an application here. The biggest thing she's known for is being queen of all gods. Her biggest claim to fame is being Mrs. Zeus. Much like Kim Kardashian, her biggest claim to fame was being Mrs. Jay-Z. Not Jay-Z, Kanye. Wrong guy. How embarrassing. I know. Shh.
They filed it.
It's so sad.
Oh,
Wait,
Mrs. King.
so Leah.
Mrs. King.
I was supposed to be writing those gods on this part with the 6 months.
Uh-huh.
We had talked about that before.
Both. And so, and again, if you don't want to call her queen of all the gods, you can call her, no, but she was not really, you can call her baby killing queen. That would probably work a bit more. You can call her, instead of, you can't call her Mac Daddy because she's not a daddy. You can call her Mac Mommy, but that sounds weird. You can call her, big dogette. I'd say you can call her the big girl, but that seems insulting. I guess baguette, but I'm not really sure that works as well as you think. It comes across a little weird again. But
How about Mrs. King?
Mrs. King could definitely work. I would roll with that. For our hand sign for Hera, well, one, this is where I get disturbed when you guys try to figure out the hand signs ahead of time. Because I had a kid in first period who seemed convinced they knew it ahead of time. And they were like, Mr. Broviak is it? And she did like a rocking of a baby thing. And then threw the baby down and stomped on it. And I was like, holy crap, child. And she was like, what? Babies and killing. And I'm like, I am not having you guys throw babies on the ground and kill them. I'm like, goodness gracious, you can make me disturbed. So here's what we're going to do instead, as opposed to stomping on babies. We're going, no, we're not killing babies as a hand sign. I mean, backing up. If you would like to do that as your hand sign, I will allow it. I am just not officially teaching that as your hand sign. So if you want to go, Hera, Mrs. Zeus, and just step on a thing, I'll allow it. Here's what I'm going to go for, which is a slightly different direction. You're going to take one hand and make a C, and then take your other hand and make a C, and you bring your two C's together so it makes a circle, and then rotate it, and then you bring it up and put it on your head.
And then you
And there you go. So it becomes a crown. So that way you're going to hold the hands like a crown on your head. Now, a couple things with you making your crown. Some of you are pretty people like me. And you're like, Mr. Broviak, I'm naturally beautiful. I'm like, I feel you, boo. And so you have your crown on your head, and you're going to do sparkles on top. And I'm okay if you want to do sparkles on top. Sparkle crown like this. Now, realize there's a difference between Queen of the Gods and I'm a moose. So when you put your crown on, stay here, not Hera, Queen of the Mooses, because that's going to be a whole different god. So yeah, Queen of the Mooses is different. The Queen of the Mooses was called, but you didn't say her name very often because it was kind of hard to pronounce. So Hera, Queen of all the gods, or Queen Daddy? No, that sounds weird. But whatever works here. All right. So now we have, or for those of you who got really excited about the baby stomping, that's the one that you can work in. Just watch a grown man cry in front of you. So now, after Hera, who's our next one to get a throne? Yeah, this is where you, why Poseidon? Yes, both of those answers are correct. Poseidon is our next one to get a throne. One, because he's next on the posters over there for kids who paid attention. And also, he's a boy. And remember, we're sexist. So you're going to go boys before girls almost every single time in Greek mythology.
But then there's a girl.
Correct. You seem so happy about sexism. Good job, Graham. I'm so proud of you. It's how we always get dates. And so now we have Poseidon, who's going to step in as our next one. At this point, Hera's like, I don't care who you give thrones to. He's like, I've got my throne. The rest of these people are idiots. Poseidon's like, I'm an idiot. And so he runs up to get his. With Poseidon, we already know what he is in control of. That would be
Water.
good job. More oceans. But if you want to do water, you can.
Seaweed.
Now, if you want to, again, that's fine with me as long as you connect it. I've heard God of squishy things. I've heard someone say, Poseidon, Mr. Fish Fist. And I was like, weird, but sure. If you want to call him Aquaman, that works for me too. All of those connect to what he actually goes to. So as long as it connects to what he's the god of, I'm fine with you and your strangeness. So Poseidon, I will do god of the oceans. For you guys, I'm scared to find out. And then for the hand sign along with this one,
The guard is still.
you have a number of options. Again, like with most of ours, I give you guys options. Here's what, for the hand signs, here's the reason for the hand signs. Whenever we're saying these out loud and you guys get stuck on a god, I will give you the hand sign to remind you. So if it's all of a sudden Mina's turn to go first, she's like, I don't remember the first one. I can go,
Lightning bolt.
and you'll be like, lightning bolt, Zeus. So if we get to like Hera and I'm doing this one, hopefully it helps. Even though you're gonna be like, oh, baby throw, and that's fine. So the same thing with Poseidon. Here's what I'm going to use. Because I figure if he is the god of oceans and the squishy area, and we were to take you and throw you into his kingdom, most of you would hopefully try to not drown. So I'm going to give you the swimming thing. So this is what I will give to you. Now I realize some of you are not very good swimmers. So instead of doing swimmy thing, you might do dog paddle. And if you're more of the dog paddly area, I'm fine with that too. Realize there's a difference between dog paddle and getting into a slap fight with someone because they insulted your haircut. You're like, that's not going to keep you out of the water. Doggy paddle.
Is that a girl?
Others of you might not even be good at doggy paddle, and you're going to do more of the drowning thing. And you're going to go, Poseidon, god of squishy things, and down you go.
Babies in the ocean.
Others of you are much better at doing this weird wavy thing, and if you want to do a weird wavy thing, that's fine with me too. I'm just telling you what I will be doing, and then if you do whatever your weird thing is after stepping on babies, that's going to be whatever your particular issue may be.
Hopefully a principal doesn't walk in.
They're used to me by now.
Mr. Brogan,
Waves.
I'm gonna call him God of 1.13 because the 1.13 update in Minecraft is the update aquatic.
That works for
Big
me.
wave! Big wave!
I accept it. Makes like you understand it. After Poseidon, our next one to get a throne is
Demeter.
no.
I can't. Hepatitis.
No.
Hades.
Hades. Nicely done. Hades is our next one to get a throne. Remember, sexism. So it goes boys and then girls. Problem is, when Zeus is handing out all of the thrones, he goes, all right, let's go through. He's like, so now those of you who want to become an Olympian, here are the rules that go into it. We are the ruling body of all of these other gods. So anytime a Titan has a problem, they can come talk to us and we're going to sort of help them resolve them. Plus, we're going to have monthly meetings where we get together and we sort of decide major issues. And Hades goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. What were those last two things? He goes, gods can come talk to us whenever they have problems, and we're going to have monthly meetings. Hades goes, do we have to talk to the gods? Zeus goes, yeah, that's part of the job. He goes, do we have to come to your meetings? Zeus goes, yeah, that's part of the job. Hades goes, yeah, Mal. And he gives up his throne. Hades goes, I don't need your thrones. I have my own throne. And in my throne, no one talks to me. I have my own kingdom. Hades willingly gives up his throne on Mount Olympus. So Hades is an Olympian for like 10 minutes. And then it was like, I'm done and I'm out. So technically, he's not going to be on the list. But you need to remember, he does become an Olympian just for a very short period of time. Uh-huh. That sounds completely normal. Wish I knew which kid it was. Okay. No. One weird student? Look around in this. Yes, I have one weird student. That's fine. Be careful. recording class right now. I'm not,
Hey, besties.
oh my goodness gracious. So at this point,
You're so glad you hired me as a manager for your basketball team.
we now have Hades who's given up his throne. So who is our... Well, then put it over there as a reminder so we can bring more in. Who is our next one to get a throne and keep a throne?
I can't read it.
This, I know, it's...
Demeter.
is correct. Demeter, which is like Hephaestus, but spelled completely differently. So this is where Demeter comes in as our next one to get a throne. Yes, you're right, Queen of the Gang Signs. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to, we're going to take a 3-minute break. I'm going to pause for a second so we can stand up, and we're going to come back to this one. So home children, I'm currently pausing. All right, and that was a mild level of chaos and insanity. So anyway, hey, we're back and still dealing with Wi-Fi issues, but whatever, we're good to go. So now we have, Demeter. We have God of grains and harvest, or foodie bits, or something along those lines. We have to do the hand sign for her. So with Demeter, my original thought had been to just do like a bowl of cereal kind of thing, but then I ended up coming up with one I like better, although it might be a bit confusing for you guys. I wanted to do more of a connection to farming in some way, then I realized you guys don't really do any kinds of farming, except for mildly strange, but we'll roll with that one. Some of you guys do a form of farming in the summertime when your parents kick you out of the house once a week to do an outside chore. And for many of you, that outside chore that you have to do, it's close.
Mowing the lawn?
There we go. Got it. Ready to harvest is the lawnmower. And so when it says do the lawnmower, there is a dance that goes along with it back from my childhood. If you are unaware of what the lawnmower is, I'm going to teach you how to do the lawnmower. And this is what you are going to do for Demeter, God of grains and harvest. We're going to have you do the lawnmower.
Wait, can I do the gang sign instead?
So the way the lawnmower works is, make sure you guys can see me properly. You have to grab your lawnmower, the handles from the front, and then you have to grab the pull start. You grab your pull start, and you pull, and it only starts on the third pull because lawnmowers.
No.
Third pull, and then you have your lawnmower that starts, and then you have to body jiggle because then you're mowing the lawn. Body jiggle, body jiggle, body jiggle, body jiggle, and you're going to do the lawnmower from there.
What kind of lawnmower is that?
And then you're going to take your pin and just charge the kids points who keep yelling at you for some reason, because apparently they're really worked up about learning today. More power to them. I feel the same. And so that's going to be the lawnmower. Demeter, God of grains and harvest. Body jiggle body. Now I understand some of you guys are upset because you're like, Mr. Broviak, I would never do that much exercise. So for you, you get to do the riding lawnmower because you're slightly going to be on the more lazy side. So instead of doing the pull starting one, you're going to sit on your lawnmower and then just turn the key. Demeter, God of grains and harvest, but you still body jiggle. Body jiggle, body jiggle, body jiggle. Because when you're riding your lawnmower, it goes back and forth. Some of you have a really big lawn, and even you're not going to use the riding lawnmower. You've got the really fancy lawnmowers that they use to mow the lawns, like the big thing. The zero, someone knows their lawnmowers. And for those, you're the same thing. Demeter, God of grains and harvest, but you're going to start that one, and you're just going to, and however it works for you is going to work for me.
What about that little stick with the blade?
So Demeter, God of grains and harvest, lawnmower. So that becomes the one for there. We have one more sibling who is going to get a throne on Mount Olympus. The last sibling of Zeus's to get a throne on Mount Olympus. Nicely done. Not a sibling. Hestia, Hestia. Now, Hestia, for those of you who are in the living version, are back over here behind where Kate is. This is Hestia over here. Now, home children, I would show it to you at the camera, but it's one of the small posters. It's not going to do you any good. If you're really curious, you can go look on the page and find her picture on there. She looks like she's a ghost creeping on a house. There's a reason for it. In Greek mythology, Hestia was one of the most important gods in Greek mythology, but what she was the god of doesn't seem like it would be important at first. She was the god of fireplaces, which seems like a weird thing, but to the Greeks, fireplaces were super important because in the wintertime, if you didn't want to have your children turn into kidsicles, then you had to have a fireplace to heat them in front of. Or if you for food, if you didn't want to have cold chicken nug-nugs and you wanted to warm up your chicken nug-nugs, then you had to have a fireplace in order to cook them. So fireplaces were super important. So Hestia was the god of having a safe house and a fireplace, which is why in her picture, she's not a ghost. She's supposed to be made of smoke. There's fire, that's the chimney, and that's the smoke coming out of the chimney. And so she is busy looking down on this house trying to protect it. She is also going to be one of the nicest gods in all of Greek mythology. Almost every god we get to, there is a story about them doing some awful, horrible thing to people or another god. Regardless of which god you pick, they did something bad, except for Hestia. She was an all-around nice god. She was just the friendliest one. So anytime you want to compliment someone, be like, you're just a good person, you would call them a Hestia, because that was essentially who she was, which is also why she's not on our list, because she also, as you're going through the big posters, she has no big poster because she also gives up her throne. She, along with Hades, no longer have thrones. Now, here's where it's going to get real confusing for some of you, and your brain is going to hurt. She does have a throne for roughly 1,000 years, but then she is going to give it up because of a story we're going to get to coming up on Wednesday, and she loses her throne. So at this time, we now have 5 gods on thrones. Those 4 plus Hestia. So Hestia has a throne for a long time. She's important to Greek mythology, and you're going to need to know who she is. So that's Hestia. Here's our problem. Oh, actually, no, let's back up. Let's practice first. So we are now a third of the way through. So let me demonstrate what you're going to have to do in order to do it in front of the class. You're going to go Zeus, king of all the gods. Hera, queen of all the gods. Poseidon, god of the oceans. Demeter, god of grains and harvests. Simple as that. So now, let's have you guys practice. Even through your masks, you're not saying this part. You're saying this part, doing that part. Ready? Let's start off with
King of all gods.
We'll start over. I agree. Some people have the worst smiting ever. I was not intimidated by your lightning throwing at all. Ready?
Zeus, king of all gods.
Max. And very few mooses. Good job. And
Poseidon, god of the oceans.
very few of you are going to drown.
Demeter, god of the grains and harvests.
And very few of you are ever going to mow a lawn.
I know that. He was like he was having a seizure.
I know.
He was like he was having a seizure.
Trust me, you guys are going to scare every lawn you go near. The lawn is just going to cut itself. Speaking of, by the way, I did have kids who wanted to do this for Demeter. They're like, Demeter, god of grain. I'm like, wait, like, I'm cutting the lawn. And I was like, that's what I said. And then I was like, you know what, boo? That's how you want to cut your lawn. If you want to do Demeter, god of grains and harvest, and just cut it across the top. Apparently your parents hate you when they're like, mow the lawn. Here's your scissors. And you're like, again? Like, I just got done from last week. That's fine. If that's what your strangeness is, more power to you. But back to our stories. So at this point, he has now filled in 5 thrones. Zeus's issue is he has run out of siblings to give thrones to. And we just finished a war. So there's no gods he really trusts. He is only wanting to trust gods that are related to him. But he can't give one to his dad because he tried to kill his dad. Can't give one to his mom because Rhea wants nothing to do with this. And you can't use your grandparents because grandparents. So, what people can he give thrones to that will still be related to him? His children. So Zeus comes up with the genius idea of having a whole bunch of babies to fill in the rest of the thrones. Now, he and Mrs. him, which would be named what? He and Hera have 4 children. Mr. Broviak, that's not 7. I know, which is why he has to get creative and friendly. But he and his wife have 4 children. Now, here's part of our issue. Of those 4, 2 are boys, 2 are girls. Only 2 of them are going to get thrones. The boys or the girls get thrones. You guys know your sexism. It's, Finley, you don't have to cheer sexism. You just have to know it exists. Yay, sexism! It's the best! And so, of the 4, you know the 2 sons' names. They would be?
Me and me.
Hephaestus
Aries.
and Aries. Nicely done. So the 2 sons are Hephaestus and Aries. The 2 daughters' names, you don't have to know, but I'll tell you their stories. One's name is Hebe, Hebe, and the other is Ilithia, Ilithia. Now, they're not questions on the blue sheet or anything like that. They're just, I'm not as sexist as Zeus. I'm still going to give you their information. So the 4 of them, when they're born, Zeus is like, yay, boys, you get thrones. Girls, not so much. You guys get to do the next best thing. You get to hang out with people who have thrones. And they're like, Daddy, that's not fair. And he's like, it's okay. You're a woman. And then Finley's like, yay, sexism. So it's okay. So at this point, it gets worse. So Hebe throws a fit. And she's like, Dad, this is not fair. I don't think what you're doing is right. I demand to be on Mount Olympus. So Zeus goes, you know what? I agree, Hebe. How about this? She goes, I get a throne? He goes, no, not that, dear. You don't get a throne. You're a girl. But here's what you do get to do. Sometimes we're going to be really thirsty, and we're going to want someone to bring us drinks. So whenever someone with a throne snaps their fingers, you need to bring us something to drink or ring a bell. If you're Jermaine, that works for me too. And she goes, wait a minute. You're saying I'm the waitress? He goes, yeah, that's it. You get to give us stuff. And so Hebe becomes the waitress of the gods. And that's what he has for his daughter. But that's still better than her sister. Ilithia gets nothing. She is the forgotten child of Greek mythology. As far as the gods are concerned, she barely ever exists. She's the one that Zeus completely forgets he even has as a child. Whenever people are asking, like, how many kids do you have? He's like, I have 3 kids. And Ilithia goes, what about me? He's like, who are you? She's like, I'm your daughter. He's like, oh yeah, 4. I always forget about that one. So that's who Ilithia is. Throughout all of Greek mythology, she essentially does nothing and no one cares about her. So at least Hebe gets to be a waitress. Ilithia gets nothing. As far as you guys are concerned, you don't have to worry about either one of them. They're not going to show up on quizzes or tests. I just want you guys to know about them because I'm not quite as sexist as that Zeus guy. Zachary, what's up, Zachary?
So Hera was the one who threw Hephaestus out a window or whatever? Or not window,
We're not
but like,
there yet. You gotta have patience, Tiger.
yeah,
So
but
this
like,
yeah. We'll get there. So Leah,
How do I spell the 2 daughters' names?
you use that handout that's next to you, the white one. There you go. And you turn it to the other side, and then you'll put there you learning. So Hephaestus and Ares are the 2 that are going to get thrones. Now, with Hephaestus, we already know what he is the god of, because we've talked about him. And he is the god of close. Not fires and not volcanoes. He was connected, not
Air conditioning.
maybe we didn't touch him. He was the god of metalsmiths. He is the one that does, he's the one that's up here, who is the one working in a forge, who creates armor and weapons. Same one over there, creating armor and weapons. So Hephaestus was a metalsmith. Now, the other things that you know about him, which apparently you thought much more interesting, what else do we know about him? He was also crippled, and then technically he was also ugly. Now, realize, here's the issue with him being ugly. He was not ugly by your standards. He was ugly because he was hanging out with all these beautiful gods, and he was essentially a normal looking person. And if you're a normal looking person and you hang out with supermodels, you look ugly all the time. So it was more the fact that he just hung out with a whole bunch of hot people, and they looked at him like, oh, you're kind of ugly. But then he'd come down to earth and like, oh my God, you're still beautiful. But around the other gods, he was considered an ugly person. Now, as far as the crippling goes, which brings Zachary apparently a lot of issue to think about crippled people, mocking you, Zachary. So on that one, there's two versions of how he gets crippled. One involving Zeus, one involving Hera. I'm going to tell you both of them, but we're going to focus on the Zeus one because it's less depressing. And there's enough depressing stuff in Greek mythology already. So I'll give you the less depressing one, and then I'll tell you the other one that tells you how he got crippled. Jermaine? Well, I mean, ugly people can still have muscles, but yeah, I have no idea. Different types of artists. Over here, he's looks, I think, yeah. I mean, one, blacksmiths were ripped because you had to have that giant hammer you were swinging all the time. So the homeboys had muscles, but sometimes you hit yourself in the face, when you're swinging your hammer around. It was embarrassing. He is right here. This guy sitting down. Yep. So for this story, which I have BroviCast to help you out with, this goes back to when Hephaestus was a small child. Now, we're going to say like 6 to 7 in like age of like a childish type thing. And he was roaming around Mount Olympus one day when he heard arguing coming down one of the hallways. Curious, he came down this hallway to find his parents, Zeus and Hera, yelling at each other, just full force knockdown, drag out argument. Hephaestus goes into the middle of it to figure out what's going on. Turns out their argument is about Zeus's friendships and Hera finding out about one of their friendships and yelling at him about this thing. Hephaestus loved his mother and thought Hera was the greatest thing in the world. So he immediately joins Hera's side and starts yelling at Zeus also. You're a bad daddy. How dare you have friendships like that? You should only be with mommy. And going at Zeus. Zeus, not happy. One, doesn't like the fact that he got caught. 2, doesn't like the fact his wife is yelling at him. 3, doesn't like the fact this small child is yelling at him. So Zeus decides to solve this issue. He ends up picking up Hephaestus and shaking him, as you do with small babies. He's like, don't you yell at your father. And then he picks this child up above his head and yeets him as hard as he can. And yeets this child. Now, I'm not against throwing a child. It's a fun game to do. I used to throw my children all the time. Now, not out of a window of a house, that I frown on, but we played a game called Airplane. You pick up the kid and you have like the big bed in the parents' bedroom. You throw the kid in the air and like, whee, and they land on the bed and bounce and giggle. That's what Zeus did, except without the bouncing and giggling. He just takes the kid and was like, yeetage! And the kid just goes, his little arms go flying behind him. Which is bad until you realize you live in a house where it doesn't have walls because it's just pillars everywhere because Greek architecture. So he doesn't hit a wall. He just keeps on going. And your thought is, well, that's fine. He'll land outside in the yard. They don't have a yard because it's on top of a mountain. So Hephaestus just keeps on going. Those little arms are flapping, flappity, 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 flap, out over the ocean. As he's going out over the ocean, he ends up seeing this little island that's... Sorry, this thing keeps cutting out on me. One moment. Stop. I'm having issues. All right, it's working. As he goes out over the ocean, he sees this... It kills me when it keeps going in and out. Sees this island and aims down for the island. Directs himself with his little arms. Landing on the island. The problem is he had no way to slow himself. So when he lands, all of the force goes all into one leg. And the bones in that leg shatter and turn into dust. Normally would kill a person, but being Hephaestus, does not kill him. But it turns out the gods had this stuff called nectar and ambrosia. It was like God Gatorade. And you had to drink it to grow up big and strong. If you did not drink it, you could not heal from it. Zeus was so angry at Hephaestus, he refuses to give him any of this God Gatorade. Refuses to let any other god give him this Gatorade. So Hephaestus's leg ends up healing in this weird, like, bendy shape, like an accordion, this little musical. And when he grows up on this island, his leg is all bonkety bonkety in different directions. So whenever he walks, it's in circles. He's like, and he has to run around and stuff like that. Zeus leaves him on this island, refuses to bring him back up to Mount Olympus, and Hephaestus is there for years, just all by himself. Till one day, as a young man in his 20s, still on this island by himself, there's this mountain that's been there for a while, and he hears thunder coming from the top of the mountain, and he gets all excited. He's like, Zeus is back. I can finally go apologize. I'll say, hey, can I come back up to Mount Olympus? Everything's going to be okay. So he gets super stoked and starts climbing this mountain, which is not easy when you have one leg that looks like a little shrimp tail. He's like, climb me, circle, climb me, circle. But as he gets all the way to the top of this big mountain, he realizes the thunder is not coming from the top of the mountain. The thunder is coming from inside the mountain, which is really weird. He's like, why would there be thunder inside of a mountain? But that's all he hears, these great big, wadoo, wadoo. He's like, weird, but cool. So he finds a cave and manages to make his way inside of this great big mountain. Inside of there, he finds out the thunder is not coming from Zeus. It's coming from these three gigantic creatures that have made a home inside of this mountain. Those three gigantic creatures are?
Cyclops.
He finds the Cyclops who made this mountain their home. Now, the Cyclops are older than Zeus and don't care about Zeus's rules. So they end up giving him some of this nectar and ambrosia, which heals him a little bit, but it's too late to completely heal him. And the Cyclops bring him in and go, hey, we feel sorry for you, little ugly baby child. So why don't we help raise you and teach you how to do the one thing that we're really good at? And the thing they're really good at would be creating metal. So because of that, he gets trained by the Cyclops themselves on how to create all of these wonderful weapons and armor. Eventually, as the Cyclops keep training him, he gets better at it than even the Cyclops are. That's how skilled he is at all of this. And as the Cyclops keeps sending weapons and armor and things to Zeus, Zeus notices that some of them are really impressive. And it's so impressive, he ends up going down to visit the Cyclops and finds Hephaestus there. And he was like, who are you? And he was like, I'm your child that you chucked out of a window. Just like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. And then Hephaestus gets brought back up to Mount Olympus, and him and Zeus high-five each other, and he forgives him. And Hephaestus gets an official throne on Mount Olympus years after he got yeeted out. For our hand sign to go along with Hephaestus, again, this is where it is scary to see the stuff that you guys come up with. But again, if you want to do your own creative one, that's fine. But typically, much like with Zeus, every time you see Hephaestus, he's doing the same thing in almost every single picture. So that's what we're going to go for. Now, realize a slight difference from Zeus with the whole smiting, but it's sort of the same action. But instead of holding your hand all the way back, you're just going to come here to the front and you're going to hammer a thing. So you're going to go Hephaestus, god of metalsmiths. And you're going to do a little hammery motion like that. Now, this is also where we're going to realize some of you probably should not ever handle a hammer because you're going to go, Mr. Brovic, Hephaestus, god of metalsmiths. And you're going to be swinging your hammer around. And I'm like, oh, boo, you're going to give yourself a concussion. You should not have a hammer unless you have a helmet on. But for the rest of you, we're going to see, or you're going to end up, yeah, I saw your desk when you tried to hammer it one time. I wish you luck on that one. Good job, Thunderfist. And then who is Hephaestus' brother? With Ares, he is the other one. Ares was as attractive as Hephaestus was unattractive. And so Ares was considered one of the most attractive and hottest of the gods up there. Not the absolute hottest. That's going to be this guy over here called Apollo. He is going to be the absolute most attractive one. And then Zeus was considered right up there, but Ares was right in that top spot. But Ares was all. What was Ares the god of?
War.
He was the main god of war that is going to step into it. Now, there's a little story that's going to go into the hand sign that goes along with Ares. I will tell you, kids that leave my classroom and go on to high school, college, and whatnot, of all the things they remember from my class, it is the hand sign for Aries is the thing that sticks with them because it's memorable. The drawback is we're not going to get to it until Wednesday because this is the stopping point where I got to it right before we got to this. So we are going to stop at this point because this was my stopping point to get through for today. Wednesday, we're going to pick up and finish out the rest of our gods and hopefully have a bit more fun story things for you. Home children, I am now done with you. We ended a little bit early, but I'm just trying to keep all of my classes even. And normally you guys are way behind my other classes, but for some reason today you guys are all ahead of my other classes. So I'm not kicking you out because we're going to play a game here in just a second. But I am going to stop recording because I don't want the game on here because that way the kids watching the video don't get the fun stuff. So hang on. Let me stop recording. People watching video, you're out of luck. All right. Stop recording.